since I was a kid, this place has been the place where only the best of the best ever went. So growing up, when I saw somebody on stage, I thought they had made it. This was it. And then being able to be lucky enough to be able to actually do shows here and start to work with these people and realize that they're just like everybody else and they just want to make the show better and to entertain people, and that there's so much talent right here in our area. It's been fantastic. And then to be able to become part of the board and help with the revitalization and the renaissance of this place, it has been one of the biggest joys of my life.
My goodness. I mean, it's basically been one of the biggest parts of my life for the last 2 decades. It's where I've met all my friends. It's where I get to go to express myself and to watch others express themselves. It's the home to some of my greatest moments of pure joy in my life, you know, and I'm getting heckled. That's not new here, unfortunately, for me. But yeah, I mean, it's just like the day that I came wandering in this place when I was 30 years old. For the rest, ever since I've been wondering, why did I wait till I was 30?
This is my first production at the Playhouse, and I've learned to really enjoy it here. I think it's a big part of Youngstown. I've heard so many people that I know that are older than me that have done productions at the Playhouse, that have been involved in the Playhouse and have visited here, and it has such a big history and of people like Ed O'Neill that have been famous here. So I'm excited to do more productions here and hopefully be a part of the history.
As 2014 dawned at the Playhouse, the first main stage show of the year would be Arsenic and Old Lace in March. As it turned out, it would be the biggest hit of the second half of the current season. But the real news was that Mary Ruth Lynn would exit the Playhouse. By all accounts, it was not of her own accord. Specific details are sparse except for Lynn's account, that she was informed that she would be let go. Board member Richard Wolford said it was due to the fact that the Playhouse could no longer afford her high salary. Bernie Alpagalise, the youth theater director, would fill her position. Something was needed to inject the Playhouse with needed funds and added interest. They got both as the 91st season began in September of 2014, with a production of A Chorus Line directed by David Gentry, an actor, director, choreographer. With many professional credits, Gendry summed up his love for the Playhouse during this production.
Yes, I have seen a lot of the history of this wondrous theater, both the good and the bad, and am still in many ways profoundly affected by the magnetic pull that it has had on my entire life.
The main stage was now back to more frequent use with fewer productions in the Moyer Room. But even with the success of A Chorus Line, funds were still below what was needed for the theater. To that end, local entertainer Angelo Barbaro would stage a Playhouse fundraiser, Angelo Barbaro and Friends, raising our voices for the Youngstown Playhouse in December of 2014. Incorporating a few low-profile national names, the fundraiser only had marginal success. This show, however, coupled with the next production of Fiddler on the Roof, would help to boost the Playhouse bank account to a much more comfortable level. Starring David L. Hatton and Stephanie Cambro, Youngstown audiences responded favorably. But as the curtain came down on Fiddler, it also did on the life and career of former Playhouse executive director Bentley Lenhoff. Lenhoff would pass away in July of 2015. Lenhoff held the top job at the Playhouse longer than anyone in history, 21 years. To many he was a curmudgeon, but to those who knew him well he was a true humanitarian. Many expressed their personal thoughts on Lenhoff's passing, with actor Nick Leonelli adding an additional thought about the stage that Lenhoff trod so many times while raising the bar of Playhouse excellence. Quote, "I sincerely hope that if there isn't already, that some part of the Playhouse will be dedicated to the memory of Bentley Lenhoff. My personal wish would be that the main stage be named the Bentley Lenhoff Stage at the Youngstown Playhouse." Theater, however, has a way of turning the dark times around and using them as tributes to those who have gone before. That is exactly what took place with the Broadway quality production of Cats, to open the next season, following it with an equally good production of Mary Poppins. The back-to-back productions were box office bonanzas for the Playhouse. Both shows were Youngstown premieres, filling seats each and every night of their runs. Since its beginning, the Playhouse has always been known for producing original scripts. From Harold Igoe's The Unknown Soldier during season number 2 to the present, the Playhouse has prized local playwright creativity. So it would continue in season number 92 with the Terry Shear's original script, Foul Play. This would be followed later the same season with J.E. Ballantyne Jr.'s Images, Remembrances of the Holocaust, the Eva Schloss story, the gripping story of Eva Schloss, a Holocaust survivor and stepsister of Anne Frank. Many changes were in store for the Playhouse around this time. Bernie Appiglese would resign his position as operations manager and be replaced by James McClellan. McClellan's reputation in the community was well known as an actor and an arts administrator and seemed to be a good fit for the Playhouse. Meanwhile, Tom DeToro would leave the presidential chair, which would be filled by Dr. John Cox. McClellan's first season in the top spot would have a strong start, as the 93rd season in 2016 would open with The Music Man, with Don Wolford as Professor Harold Hill. By this point, ticket sales had begun to rebound at the theater, and the dark days of the past seemed to be fading. Downtown Youngstown was also seeing a turnaround, as businesses continued to pop up in the downtown area, bringing people back to the city.
It's been a jewel in the community. It's a place where you see good theater done well. And when I first came to Youngstown in 1980, this was the place you wanted to go to see theater.
Well, it's really been practically my life here, you know. I spent most of my life here, so I've met all kinds of wonderful people. It's brought nothing but joy to my life, and what can I tell you, Jack? I just don't know what I would have done without it. I was so fortunate to be able to be grabbed and gotten in here in 1960.
You know, it's been my life. I can honestly say that. You know, if it weren't for the Playhouse, I would just be a car salesman. A used car salesman. But the Playhouse has given me a purpose. And, you know, it's given me a great deal of satisfaction throughout the years. You know, my life would be a lot less fulfilled if it weren't for this theater, I'll tell you that.
The timing was perfect for the next production at the Playhouse, Harry's Friendly Service by Rob Zellers. The show was loosely based on an actual service station which existed in downtown Youngstown on Front Street in the 1970s. This would be closely followed by Talk Radio, a show dealing with a highly popular talk radio format, which was rampant in the Youngstown area. The season would finish on a strong note with a popular musical, Hairspray. The Playhouse at this point was not content to rest on past successes, as it presented the area premiere of the powerful drama, August Osage County, to open season number 94 in September of 2017. With a cast led by award-winning actress Molly Galano, the show drew uncharacteristically large crowds for a taut drama. As theater critic Guy Distolfo wrote, quote, "It will long be remembered as one of the finest pieces of theater of this era," unquote. To satisfy the comedy lovers, the season would be bookended in May with the Mel Brooks musical Young Frankenstein, another giant crowd pleaser. The McClellan years seemed to be paying off for the Playhouse, and would continue in that direction with the musical Pippin, opening season 95 in 2018. Although not an often produced show in community theater, the Playhouse impressed audiences with Broadway quality performances. The community was back in full support of the Playhouse, and the Playhouse was giving their audiences what they wanted to see: first-class professional quality entertainment. That support would zoom to new heights when the Playhouse unexpectedly acquired the recently released rights to the musical Mamma Mia. It would be another area premiere for the theater at Playhouse Lane. So successful was a November 2018 production that they had to bring the show back in May of 2019 for all those people unable to get tickets earlier in the season. With essentially the same cast returning for the May run, it did equally strong performances and ticket sales. But the show was not without a downside. Soon before the show opened its original run in November, Playhouse actor and director David L. Hatton would pass away due to a lengthy illness. Al Hatton was a giant at the Playhouse, both on stage and off. His memorable roles were numerous: Sweeney Todd, Arsenic and Old Lace, Pillow Man, Chess, and many more. His dedication to the theater and to the youth theater program will long be remembered. A major bombshell would drop in the coming months as summer waned in late August of 2019. The Vindicator, Youngstown's major daily newspaper, would cease publication. This was a major blow to both the city and the Playhouse. The Vindicator was a main source of publicity and advertising for the theater, as it was to most businesses in the area. Since the 1800s, the Vindicator was on the street every day. Now it was gone. All was not lost, however, as the Tribune Chronicle, located in nearby Warren, Ohio, purchased the Vindicator masthead and would continue to print the paper. The paper's closing did not seem to have much immediate effect on the Playhouse, as they opened to another strong season in September of 2019 with the musical Dreamgirls. If publicity was affected by the Vindicator closing, it didn't show as Dreamgirls played to sell out audiences each and every night at the Playhouse. This would be followed later in the season with a riotous comedy, Noise Is Off. The Playhouse had become accustomed to hit after hit after hit. It was steamrolling along with seemingly nothing to stop it.
Oh my gosh, I've done so much stuff here that it's like a second home. I haven't done a show here in a while, and I'm doing one now. And when I first walked back into the theater after like a couple years, there's like you get the smells of the old theater and all that, and I was like, oh, I'm home. It's just a very familiar, comfortable place that you could perform in, like when you're the square peg in the round hole kind of person like we all are. And that's why it feels so natural and fun to be here. I love this theater. I love everything about it.
I like my favorite thing about community theater, especially here, is all the different walks of life that come in and put on a show together. Like you'll meet a doctor, a lawyer, a housewife, and it's just seeing all those people come together to make one piece of art. And that's what I love about community theater.
But even the best plans and the highest successes cannot fend off other damaging problems. The viral infection, COVID-19, had gripped the other side of the world for several months. Now it not only arrived in the U.S., but also in Ohio and Youngstown. Following the trend in the rest of the country, Governor Mike DeWine reacted by shutting down all non-essential businesses, including the entertainment industry. The Playhouse doors were shuttered once again. The remainder of season 96 was canceled. With the crisis looming as being a long one, various fundraising efforts were mounted to help sustain the Playhouse while being closed. A GoFundMe campaign netted substantially larger funds than were sought, and the Federal Payroll Protection Program enabled Playhouse personnel to keep the building running. If COVID-19 could have come at the right time, it did for the Playhouse, with the theater being in better financial shape at the start of the pandemic than at any time during the past decade. President John Cox led the way to keeping the building running, despite its inability to produce any shows. Unfortunately, however, problems seemed to come in groups. The pandemic would not be the only problem for the Playhouse. Allegations of sexual misconduct were leveled at the Playhouse by a Playhouse actress. The alleged incident occurred during the 2017 production of Young Frankenstein. The names of the accused were provided in an anonymous letter to the Playhouse, threatening action if the problem was not dealt with. Whether or not the allegations were substantially proven is not certain, but it did result in the reported expulsion of some actors from the theater. But more problems were in the wings. News in the November 29, 2020 edition of The Vindicator announced the death of one of the biggest stars at the Playhouse, David Gendre. He passed away unexpectedly on November 27th. Gendre was popular with actors and audiences alike and had been a mainstay at the theater for many, many years. His shows, both on stage and as a director and choreographer, achieved legendary status at the theater over the years. Gentry had also served on the board and had an extensive professional theater career, part of which was spent working with John Kenley. Gentry's passing would soon be coupled with another loss for the Playhouse, the passing of Playhouse actor-director Joe Scarvell. Scarvell came to the Playhouse during the Market Street Theater days and stayed for the rest of his life. From his first show, Visit to a Small Planet, through blockbusters like Fiddler on the Roof, The Odd Couple, The Rainmaker, Carousel, Oklahoma, Anna Christie, Hello Dolly, and more, Joe Scarvell was a vibrant part of Playhouse successes over many years. The cloud over the Playhouse was indeed dark, and with the pandemic drawing on longer and longer, concern grew as to what the future of the Playhouse would be. Live theater languished in Youngstown and everywhere. As COVID-19 restrictions began to loosen, the Playhouse took the bold step toward a management shakeup. Kayla Boyd would be hired as a new executive director, along with Joshua Green being named artistic director. James McClellan was gone, with little to no explanation for the move. Good news was long overdue for the theater, but would arrive in the form of a $50,000 grant from the United States Regional Arts Resilience Fund. This would pave the way for the Playhouse to resume full production when COVID restrictions permitted. With nothing yet happening at the theater in person, Call Me Elizabeth would be offered by the Playhouse as a streaming event in March of 2021. Written by and starring Kayla Boyd, the show dealt with the early life of film actress Elizabeth Taylor. Although not a live event, it did keep the Playhouse in public view and offered firm support for live theater to come. With COVID restrictions finally being lifted to allow live performances, the Playhouse would announce a portion of their 97th season, consisting of The Color Purple, Sunsets Limited, The Gone Away Place, Marjorie Prime, and Elf, the musical. Live theater had returned to the Playhouse. The return to live theater, however, would ironically not be at the Playhouse. The Color Purple would be staged at the Dior Performing Arts Center in downtown Youngstown. The Playhouse and the Dior had entered into an agreement to stage the show at the Dior while splitting both production costs and ticket revenue. As the opening of The Color Purple approached, the Playhouse would announce in August of 2021 that as they emerged from the COVID-19 pandemic, they realized a net profit of over $30,000 due to cutting costs and obtaining key grants. This helped to sustain the Playhouse while being closed for a year and a half. The question remained, however, on whether audiences would return in great numbers. That question was put to rest on September 24, 2021, as The Color Purple opened at the Dior Performing Arts Center to packed houses at each performance. It was another area premiere for the Playhouse, and it heightened the anticipation for the remainder of the Playhouse season to come. Now with The Color Purple behind them, it was time to open the doors to the Playhouse for the first time in almost 2 years. The Sunset Limited by Cormac McCarthy would open on October 15, 2021 in the smaller Moyer Room as part of the Griffith Adler series. Directed by Charles Simon and starring Terry Shears and D.C. Colvin, The Sunset Limited picked up where the Playhouse left off 2 years ago. Theater was back at the Youngstown Playhouse.
It's great to see everyone back. Very simple. That will be the most exciting moment of tonight. I've recently realized that the arts as a whole can be the instrument of any renaissance that any city may want to employ, particularly in a steel town like.
For me, it was like I came home, because this is where I feel comfortable. In any playhouse, I mean, the community theater, the community of the community theaters, I guess. But for the community, I think it really helps to forget what we just went through. If we can get back to normal and people can gather here, and with the live theater, there's so much talent. Anytime there's a show in this town, you know it's going to be good. So that gets people moving, because it was like we were all in a shelter someplace, and now we're coming out and we're seeing everything with new eyes. So it's going to be a good season. I'm excited.
We made it. We made it. We're still here. You know, there's that old folk song about Youngstown. You know, the mills have gone away, but we're still here, and we're still here. And that, I think, is a testament to the passion of the people that participate at the Youngstown Playhouse and that volunteer. I think it's a labor of love that has been a tradition for almost 97 years now. So, I mean, we sure as heck, you know, and when you think about what we've lost in the Mahoning Valley, we haven't lost the Playhouse. Right. And, you know, because we're tough. Right. We're tough. So, I mean, it's a testament to how tough we are, how gritty we are. And
with the Playhouse back in full swing, another management shakeup would take place. Both Executive Director Kayla Boy and Artistic Director Joshua Green would resign their respective positions. Little explanation was given for either resignation, but the follow-up would be monumental. The Playhouse would relinquish their management of the Playhouse and turn it over to Stambaugh Auditorium. Stambaugh, at this point, was also managing the Dior Performing Arts Center. Although the Playhouse board would remain intact, Stambaugh would now make all management decisions. With a major management shakeup now in place, season 97 at the Playhouse would wind up in grand style, with productions of Marjorie Prime, Elf the Musical, The Mountaintop, People Along the Way, and The Hunchback of Notre Dame. That summer would be uneventful, except for the passing of longtime Playhouse actor Victor Garcia. Garcia had appeared on the Playhouse stage many times over the years. A dependable character actor and good friend to many, Garcia also served on the Playhouse board, as well as serving a stint as president during one of the theater's more troubling times. As the summer waned and September approached, the Playhouse would open their 98th season with a production of the musical Sister Act on September 23rd. Although a successful production, it became obvious that times were changing at the Playhouse. Perhaps due to rising production costs, musicals at theaters across the country were trending to recorded music rather than live band or orchestra. The Playhouse was falling in line with this trend. Part of the live theater experience was now disappearing. This was ironic for the Playhouse, since they had an orchestra pit that most theaters would kill for. Now it was just that, an empty pit. The youth theater would also swing back into action for the 98th with Excalibur High, an original play by actor, writer, director Jim Canacci. As the season moved along, participation at the Playhouse continued to increase. New faces were constantly showing up on stage, indicating that the Playhouse was still holding its own as one of the preeminent community theaters in the country. With productions of The Day They Shot John Lennon and A Tuna Christmas, another calendar year would come to a close at the Playhouse. The stars had shone bright on the Playhouse since returning from the pandemic. Life had not been as good for other theaters in the country. As the calendar flipped to 2023 and season 98 continued, the highlight of the entire Playhouse year would be the Tony-winning musical Rent. Presented as a special event at the Dior Performing Arts Center, the show would have an abbreviated run, but would more than make up for it in ticket sales. As season 99 opened at the Playhouse in September of 2023, season 100 was now in clear focus. It would almost be as if 99 was a prep season for the big 100. Anticipation was high through all levels at the Playhouse and their audiences, as the first centennial of the Youngstown Playhouse was about to be celebrated. Few community theaters can boast 100 years of operation. The Youngstown Playhouse is among the elite theaters that have weathered the trials and tribulations of 100 years of successful operations. Has it been perfect in every way? No, but much has been learned through the years. Much more will be learned as the Playhouse moves beyond this milestone. The founding fathers of this early 20th century theater were pioneers. They were pioneers in a world of entertainment which did not exist in Youngstown until 1924. They probably never dreamed that the Playhouse would be standing strong 100 years later. They gambled on an idea. They gambled on a city that they hoped would support their dream. Both gambles have paid off. The art of theater teaches, entertains, and communicates. The Playhouse continues to accomplish all three of those purposes. There is not enough gratitude that can be paid to those visionaries who set forth at the original Arlington Street Theater in 1924. Esther Hamilton, Harold Igo, Lawrence Manning Lawler, Ritter Levinson, Helen Moyer, Sophie Orzerski, Ella Kerber-Resch, and all who have followed in their footsteps, both on stage and in the audiences that have helped to achieve 100 years of Youngstown Playhouse success and memories. May their legacy live on for another 100 years.